Look at that Core Tackle Wacky Shot. Weedless Wacky Shot. Way down there. Welcome back to MFO, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm out on a lake I have never been before, and just thought I would get out on a Sunday morning and play around. And obviously, when I'm fishing a body of water that I've never been before, I'm going to go to my strengths and, you know, kind of start off there, because if I'm fishing a lake that I've never fished before, using a technique that I don't have a ton of confidence in, then that's just kind of a setup for not being successful. But if at least I can go to a lake that I've never been before, but fish a technique that I'm very, very confident in, then that kind of gives me a basis for getting started. So I got out here, saw a bunch of docks, said, okay, I'm going to put on the Core Tackle Weedless Wacky Shot, put a Cinco, a green pumpkin Cinco on, and get started. And literally, first dock that I threw to, I caught a decent fish just to start off. So that's what we're going to get started doing, guys. Stick around, we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher. We are, like I said, Megan's at work. It's a Sunday, and it's actually a cooler day today. It's been so brutally hot lately that it's a nice day, and I'm just out. So I am seeing that this lake has some weeds. If you haven't, check out that video that we did on underwater aquatic vegetation. Can you identify that vegetation right there? I believe we're looking at some milfoil and some coontail. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about this lake, but when I see fishing, just drawing the docks and things like that, but when I see a seawall with overhanging branches like that, that deserves a skip underneath there. You never know, but and speaking of skipping baits, one of the things that I love the most about this Core Tackle Wacky Shot is how well it skips. I mean, the fact that that weight is right up on the bait. Here, let me show you that. The weight being right there, right up next to the bait, means that you can skip that. With the other weighted wacky rigs, the weight is way back here, and so what you end up with is a weight here and the worm here, and you can't skip that bait because the weight is so far away from the bait, it just won't skip. But with the weight right up next to the bait, you can just skip that bait right in to where you want it. and you get the benefit of a weighted wacky rig rather than just a weightless wacky rig. And you might say, you know, what's the benefit to having it weighted versus unweighted? Well, in this kind of situation, if I'm fishing 3 feet of water, it's not extremely important one way or the other, but a weighted wacky rig is going to, you're still getting, I mean, again, with the subtle weight that they've got on this, and I'll show you both types here, but with the, I'm using the lesser weight, it gives you a little bit quicker fall, which means you're, at the end of the day, you're making more casts. You're not waiting for that bait to get to the bottom. And the reality is that 9 times out of 10 fish are eating that bait once it gets to the bottom. So it gets to the bottom. It's weedless, so you can, you know, fish it around that submerged vegetation much better. And it's not overpowering in terms of the weight, so you still get that subtle fall that you get, you know, when you're throwing a wacky rig. Oh, there we go. That guy was pegged in there, huh? Right under that point, on that point. One of the other things that I want to point out, and this doesn't have anything to do with the Weedless Wacky Shot, but just if you kind of take a look, so that's where I'm going. I'm fishing this set of docks. I started out fishing over there on that set of docks, and I decided to come this direction, which for me as a righty means that as I'm skipping my bait to docks, I'm skipping where when I'm leaning over and going to make a skip like that, I'm skipping with my rod out in front of the boat, as opposed to, and I'm just gonna turn the boat real quick and show you, if I was skipping going the other direction, I've talked about this in other videos, but if I was skipping going this direction, now I'm putting my my rod, every time I do a side sidearm cast, I'm coming across my boat, and that's not, you know, now I'm having to kind of do this kind of deal. I'm not being able to get back there. So I planned out, I intentionally came to work this set of docks by coming this direction, which gives me, you know, just a better ability to hit each of these docks. Well, bluegill underneath these docks, I'll tell you that. Lots of taps. But it just lets me skip this bait a lot more efficiently as I'm working down the docks. I just love the way that bait skips. It's so unique for a weighted wacky rig like that. Now again, guys, let me just, oh, now did you just see that? Well, okay, so I got hung on that boat hoist, and all I did was kind of pop it, and because it's got that weed guard on it, I didn't get snagged on there. It just kind of slid right up that weed guard, popped it, and it came right off without getting snagged on there. That's such, look at that. Look at what that weed guard did. So I kind of felt that crossbar, slid it up there, popped it, and it went right across there. There are so many benefits to this bait. And what I was about to say, guys, is keep in mind what I am throwing right now, and I need to make sure that you understand this. This is the new Weedless long shank wacky shot, not the original one, okay? This one has a much better, because of the longer shank, it has a much better hookup percentage. It, as I just indicated, it's extremely snag proof, and because the original one had this, one of the very first things I noticed, one of the first things I noticed when they first came out with the wacky shot was my baits last forever on this. Well, now with the screw lock on the shaft of the hook, they last even longer. Oh, another one. Boy, I tell you, they seem to be up. I'm getting more of them up on the bank than I am under the docks. This is the smallest fish I've caught today, but boy, he's sure absolutely running all over creation. Got stuff going on all over the place here, but just a small one. Oh, come on. Sometimes that weed guard, there we go. All right, just a small one, get him back in. All right, let me take this opportunity to show you the Core Tackle Weedless Wacky Shot and how you rig it. So you can see what I was talking about earlier, that the pigtail or the bait keeper is in this revised version of the long shank Weedless Wacky Shot. They've got the bait keeper surrounding the hook. So I'm going to take the weed guard and bend that back out for a minute. Now all I'm going to do is take my Senko, put it on the hook just like I would any other time, but before I leave, I'm just going to spin that bait onto the bait keeper. So you can see that, sorry if I wasn't holding that right, but now you can see how that bait keeper keeps that worm right up next to the weight. Now I put my weed guard back in place and I'm ready to go. I'm not sure if you can see that, but see how it just kind of, water clarity's not great, but you can see it just goes in there. There's another one. Oh, look at that little tiny. Oh, bunch of fish underneath that pier, but that's not the, it's not the size we're looking for. You go back and get bigger. Ho, ho, ho. That's a good one. There we go. Good fish. Guys, Core Tackle Weedless Wacky Shot. Right there. That's the bait that you want to... again, like I started this video by saying that, you know, on a lake that I don't know anything about, that I've never been to before ever, being able to... you know, no confidence in the lake, but confidence in the technique, and you know, just going out for a couple hours, catching about 5 fish or so, and you know, being able to use that Core Tackle Weedless Wacky Shot. It's so much better than the first model. I mean, there are definitely applications for the first model, but when it comes to doing stuff like what I was doing today, whether it's, you know, throwing under docks or up against seawalls with the shade and things like that, the new Core Tackle Weedless Wacky Shot is the deal. And look at that, bait's still in good shape. Straighten out the weed guard, and I'm ready to go at it again. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We will see you again tomorrow on another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care, everybody.